Irish border, the central sticking point of Brexit. Police chiefs in Northern Ireland and so many others warning for months that any return to border checkpoints risks reigniting the troubles, paramilitary violence, paramilitary policing. Central to that risk, the IRA, talked about endlessly in all this, but they've not talked themselves until tonight. Their support minimal, their crimes and violence repugnant to the vast majority. But Brexit and the border now demand that the IRA faces scrutiny. We're in an IRA safe house in the Irish Republic.
We are the IRA as reconstituted in 2012. There is only one such organisation, and I've been mandated by the Army Council to speak to you on their behalf.
The interview happened at an undisclosed location on condition of anonymity. His words are therefore spoken by an actor. This group, labelled by the media the new IRA, is the strongest and most violent of the dissident Republican groups.
If Brexit means any kind of infrastructure put in on the Irish border, what would the response of the IRA be to that?
First of all, there's no such thing as an Irish border, it's a British border. And since its formation, since its inception, the purpose of the IRA has been to take action against all such infrastructure of British occupation.
When you say take action, the IRA would take action against such infrastructure. Tell us what you mean.
The IRA is an army, and as an army, we're committed to armed struggle for political and social change. And bearing that in mind, any installation or aspects of British occupation within 6 counties, be it at the border or elsewhere, any infrastructure would be a legitimate target for attack and armed actions against those infrastructures and against the people who are manning them.
When you say legitimate targets and legitimate actions, just to be absolutely clear, you're talking about attacking things physically, you're talking about bombings, you're talking about shootings.
Yes, it's important to understand that this is a country under occupation by Britain. And as in any colonial situation, the people have the right there to respond by all means necessary to that occupation.
If we arrived at a situation, for instance, where there was the so-called backstop and a border in the Irish Sea, would that presumably be a more acceptable situation to the IRA?
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying here. Regardless of the form of occupation, whatever kind of border there is, be it soft or so-called hard border, that's irrelevant. We're talking about an illegal occupation here. That means the IRA reserves the right to attack those who are upholding that illegal occupation along the border and elsewhere, and the illegal partition that goes with it, and those who are upholding that. The EU, the British, and the 26 county administration constantly speak about the border as if it's only been there 2 minutes, and it's only an issue with Brexit. There's been a border there since 1921. It's been resisted. It's being resisted. And it will be resisted regardless of any deal formed around it by those who have capitalist interest at heart, or indeed, if there is no deal at all.
The IRA's message unequivocal, unambiguous to Brussels, London, Dublin and beyond. Hard or soft border, deal or no deal, their war never ended. The Good Friday Agreement peace deal is a surrender.
That agreement was overwhelmingly supported by people north and south of the border in this island. How can it be a surrender?
First off, the Good Friday Agreement is dead. It was superseded by various other agreements such as the Leeds Castle, St Andrews, Hillsborough and others. So the Good Friday Agreement is defunct.
These Republicans dubbed the new IRA, assessed by security forces, as the largest dissident group. For instance, detonating this car bomb outside the courthouse in Derry earlier this year. But their support is minimal.
So to those who say, and there are so many of them, that you are a tiny minority, you don't enjoy any meaningful, relevant support in the community, and you're just the wrong side of history continuing with this, you say what?
On the contrary, we're not the wrong side of history. No colony has ever secured its freedom without armed resistance. We have more support than the Conservative Party has in Ireland, but they lord it over us. We also have more support in Ireland than the Labour Party does.
But we're not talking about those parties. Those are mainland Britain parties. We're talking about Sinn Féin. We're talking about the DUP. We're talking about Fine Gael. We're talking about Fianna Fáil. We're talking about Irish parties. They have support. You don't.
Well, this is the mainland of Ireland. The IRA is confident that it has popular support for its ultimate goal of a 32-county Irish republic. The political parties that you reference are silent about the armed activities of the state. So therefore, the IRA will take no lectures on morality or the futility of violence from those who remain morally in favour, if not tactically.
Then, April the 18th this year, rioting in the Cregan estate in Derry, one of this group's gunmen shot dead the journalist Lyra McKee, who was observing the violence.
Did the IRA say sorry?
Absolutely. We listened to calls from the Republican base at the time. We rightly called for the IRA to take responsibility for the tragic loss of Lyra McKee's life and to apologise. As we stated at the time, the loss of any civilian life in the conflict is a tragedy. And we directly apologised at the time to her partner, her family and her friends, and on behalf of the IRA, I reiterate that apology now.
Let me put to you what Sarah Canning said to me, Lyra McKee's partner. She described the IRA as being like paedophiles. What she meant by that was, she said that you are responsible as an organisation for grooming young and vulnerable young people in places like Cregan and grooming them for violence. What do you make of that criticism?
Personally, I find that comparison is grotesque. Young people have always been the backbone of the Republican struggle. They bring an energy and a vibrancy to it with their activism. Young people are not sought out by the Republican movement. They seek it out.
People will watch this and they'll say the provisional IRA tried all this for a generation, 30 years or more, and they fought themselves to a standstill. It didn't work. They decided to go for a wholly political strategy. What makes you think for 1 second you can succeed where they failed?
It's important to point out, when you speak of the provisional IRA, that you assume that some of us had no experience of it. Many of our volunteers had lots of experience of the provisional IRA, top to bottom, from the Executive Council down to command staff, from brigade staff to the rank and file volunteers. That gives our organisation both a valuable insight now and the benefit of hindsight as to why the provisional IRA failed in all its objectives. Whilst many volunteers have experience of that era, the majority of our volunteers in 2019 have no experience of that. In fact, many were born after 1998.
There is anecdotal evidence that this group is attracting young recruits, but a glimpse too from them that they recognise they're weak.
Republicanism has always gone through peaks and valleys, and at this point we remain heavily organised, and to paraphrase a phrase of our enemy, we are sophisticated and capable, and showing increased sophistication and ingenuity. But this is a period of consolidation and rebuilding. Rebuilding is important, but it's crucial to realise it doesn't reduce our operational capabilities.
The challenge laid down by the IRA over any Brexit border tonight comes just days after MI5 warned Boris Johnson not to put it to the test and inflame a war these people insist has never gone away.
Well, Alex is here with me now. Alex, this is a really controversial interview. Just take us through the sort of thought processes that lay behind it.
Yes, it obviously months in the planning, and all that time that elapsed, it became, in our view, editorially more and more relevant. It is fair to say our understanding is that because of high-level security briefings from people who are in the know, north and south, in the British and Irish states, their influence on not one but two Prime Ministers, Theresa May and Boris Johnson, has materially changed the prime ministerial course of negotiations during Brexit. That then gives you a real dilemma. The methodology of these people will be repugnant to many, They have almost no mandate to speak of. They are a tiny, tiny minority and are frankly hated by large numbers of people north and south. That said, that is obvious. But the fact that they, because of their methodology and because of using violence, have become more relevant, if you like, to the Brexit negotiations and the whole border question. And that in itself, I think we would see it as a public interest argument to put it on. I don't mean that it's interesting to the public. I mean that there is, in a legal sense, a public interest methodology to see and to subject these people to a degree of scrutiny.
Well, let me just press you on that point of relevance, because you did challenge him on that in the interview. What is your assessment of how relevant the new IRA are now?
Well, my assessment and the assessment of security people who know a great deal about it more than I do would be it's nothing like, for instance, the strength of the provisionals, which were reckoned at 400 or 500 activists at the height of the Troubles. Nothing like that at all. But it is clear, and there is inescapable evidence, they have the ability to mount violent attacks. They have the ability to murder people, albeit in chaotic circumstances, with Lear McKee, to put it mildly, in that riot on the 18th of April in Craigan in Derry. They also clearly the technical capacity to build and detonate a car bomb. They are there. They are not going away. And if their presence, no matter how widely and without a mandate it may be, their presence exists and is playing a part in the Brexit music, that's relevant.